Hey guys, it's Friday, August the 18th of 2023, and I want to go over the dollar, energy, and metal. So without any further delay, let's get into it. As we can see on crude, the daily was already indicating some weakness. We got a PPS sell signal, cracked the mobile bands. We're already below $80. So this 37.5% level has been holding as resistance. Could it go back and retest it and either explode or fail? It could happen. But look at the weekly candle, Hikanashi candle. It's getting very skinny. So keep an eye on that. If it's going to go back down, well, it could go back down to 68 because this is big support. It's a 50% level, midpoint. Man, RBOB. Look at RBOB. Got slammed. PPS sell signal. I mean, it didn't crack the mobile, which is 256, but man, it looked like it was, it exploded. There was a trigger to go long on 8-7, the week of 8-7. Look, you can see that sometimes, it works out and it doesn't work out. They exploded it to the downside. Look at that. PPS sell signal, cracked the mobile bands. And if it's going to continue, you got 247 and 239. 239 would probably be the major because you see that it had two fail new lows there, two support. So it could go down there if 247 doesn't hold. Net gas looks like it's following the energy sector. If we crack the mobile band, 257, somewhere around there, you got a blue bar here on the histogram showing some weakness on the weekly chart, and it looks like the mobile band is about to go negative. We got a PPS sell signal and support using our pivot indicator here, 245 all the way to 248. That's all support. We'll look at nat gas more in detail. Heating oil is probably, I don't know, looking at the daily is probably the best, maybe with nat gas, but it has the best run. Hit this trend line here and fail. It looks like it's in the noise barrier right now between the mobile bands. As long as we could break above 312 and then test this trend line and push higher, it's still in chop fest on the daily, but the histogram is showing you weakness. Kind of reminds me of crude oil. When it starts doing that, you see price action following, and then you can see then the histogram on the weekly chart change. Let's go to the metals. The metals are getting pounded. Squeeze play, the pressures to the downside. You can see we already cracked the 0%. So the explosion or the pressures to the downside, and it's already reflecting that. But there has to probably be a bounce somewhere. Maybe next week could maybe bring a bounce, but very weak. Silver tested this trend line right here and found support. You can see the histograms are yellow on the daily. On gold, not so much. You got a Hikanashi with the trend white, but we need to break above 2289 to get positive to maybe retest this trend line here. Copper broke the trend line and was trying this week to regain that, but it hasn't. So it's on the weaker side. So that means that it didn't do this game right here where it pierced it, and next week they brought it right back in. Now they pierced it, and then this week they're below the trend line. So it could either surprise us next week and go back in here and chop again, and then show the real move, which could be up, continue sideways, or down, or this is it, and we're going to push lower. And you have to watch the dollar if that's going to bring some extra catalyst pressure to the downside. Targets will be 354, and you see it on the daily. Palladium, chop fest, nothing new there. Squeeze play on the daily and already triggered short, just been kind of going sideways. Let's look at platinum. There's anything new there? Yeah, it pierced this pivot low of 893 and kind of bounced right back. So it's just kind of holding 892 right here. You see the histogram is turning yellow, so that looks like it's getting some strength here. Could it be a failed new low? Yeah, it could be a failed new low, so we got to keep an eye on that. Because if it's going to go up, it's going to fight against the dollar and all that. So we'll see. But so far, the metal sector is very, very weak. Let's look at the dollar because he's King Dollar. They've been saying King Dollar's been getting weaker and weaker. And man, this move is explosive to the 50% midpoint. Question is, what's going to happen at the midpoint? Are we going to fail and go back down and test 99.50? Or it's going to continue to grind higher? That means that it's going to test this other level, 25%, 104, which is right here. So those are the questions that remain for next week. You know, if we're going to go lower, grind sideways here, or push higher. Depending on where we close next week, if we're still above the 103, it has the potential to test 104, meaning that the metals are going to get even more pressure to the downside. Now, if it pushes back here, you know, there'll be a bounce next week for the metals. So keep an eye on the dollar. Let's look real quick at natural gas. We hit the bear camp, and the bears were very aggressive and kicked us out of their area, their zone. That's why it's important to always keep these zones, you know, in your chart. That way you know that this is where the fight begins, and the bears took it this time. They took us all the way down to the point of control, which is a 257. We got some VWAPs here from anchored points, and we got this whole area of support right here that we need to see if it's going to hold. So the 14th, in regards to volume, the bulls took it. Tuesday, the bears took it. Wednesday, the bears took it. Thursday, it was mixed, and we don't know what's going to happen today, but looking at this candle doesn't look too good. Let's look at our, go real quick. Nothing's changed on the monthly. On the weekly, looks like we hit this linear regression channel here. Push back. The point of control remains 257, and we're around 256, so we're hovering around there, and you can see that we've just been oscillating back and forth, back and forth. You see some closes below it, but this is the point of control. The only thing I don't like, and I've been saying this for a while, when I see a MACD sell signal on my weekly, it concerns me, and I started getting concerned around July the 10th. It was chopping back and forth, it went up, and now we are down. Crossover, indicating that there could be a possible turning point. Remember the commitments of traders report, large speculators buying natural gas? You guys remember? You guys been watching my report? What does that mean? That not large spec commercial think that maybe natural gas is going down, and large speculators were just kind of going sideways, undecided on what direction natural gas was going to go. So I'm going to be talking about that on my Saturday report. It looks like commercial was getting a hint or whatever, a heads up that maybe we were going to start turning. So they started accumulating and buying natural gas, hedging. As you can see, they were right. That's why you always have to watch commercial. Looking at the daily, PPS sell signal kicked in on the 15th, and we cracked the point of control 262, and MACD was negative on the 14th. So from that day on, things just started deteriorating, going down. Market sentiment has just been flatlining, and we're starting to get into the cloud. So there's key levels here, 245. You got the 250, and you got the linear regression channel right here. We failed the 20, we failed the 50, which is short-term not good. So this is a level right here, 257. Next one, 251, 245. There's a strong one right here, which is 248. And you got the linear regression channel. So this area right here, there's going to be some good support. If that doesn't hold, watch out, because then we're falling off the cloud, and it could be very likely that we could probably test 233 to 213. I'm just saying. It hasn't happened yet. There's a value area. There's a value area low here of 242. So we'll see how that plays. Lastly, my midpoint chart. Let's see what that looks like. I got it in a couple of minutes. We failed 263, the monthly midpoint. targets to the downside or the support 248 way back down there. We got a trend line holding here, anchored from here to here. Let's see if that's going to hold. If that's not going to hold, you got this one right here, which is a major one, pivoting from here, pivoting from here. This one splits up into here. So these are trend lines I'm watching and see if this is going to hold. On the weekly, we failed 279. I've been slamming my hammer on the table. 279 is important. We failed here, and now we're going lower. Depends on the close where we're going, but if we're going to push lower, 247 all the way to 234 for this week. I mean, it's Friday. You never know, but I can see it maybe getting here. But if they're going to really hit us hard, 246 all the way to 235. On the daily for today, you see that green line? That's that trend line. I think maybe it's that one right there. Yeah. So we got 255 right here. The next one is 253. If that doesn't hold, these are your next level, 247, 239. But so far, it is not looking good. I'm going to sign out because I passed my 10-minute mark. Stay focused. It is what it is. That's part of trading. We go up, we go down. We oscillate up, we oscillate down. And that's all I got to say. Stay tuned for Saturday's report on natural gas. I'm going to include some things that you haven't seen. Not you haven't seen, but I haven't put them on the natural gas report for Saturday. So good trading. Stay focused. Place your stops because you never know, when it's going to go against you. And I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on the dollar, on the energy and metal sector.